Hello, my name's John. This is a real-time conversion video and you're watching Wargames, Models and Other Hobbies. Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a real-time conversion video inspired by other videos that I've seen online as well as a previous conversion that I've worked on. This conversion right here is a Red Hunter's Space Marine Captain. I wanted to make a small Space Marine force out of a load of spare parts that I had, so I started creating this conversion quite a while ago now, and it got me thinking. It actually looks more like a Grey Knight than a standard Red Hunter Space Marine. If you're not familiar with the Red Hunters, they're a Space Marine chapter that allies a lot with the Inquisition. Some say they may even have gene seed of the Grey Knights. But yeah, I made this conversion and then I started thinking it'd be great to make some new scale Grey Knights. Now I have just here one of the currently available Grey Knight plastic models, which I have to say, when you stand it next to a Primaris Marine, this is Terminator armour. And it looks really quite small. If I put it next to a Space Marine Librarian, it looks tiny. So what I want to do is, with a few of my spare parts, is do a test conversion to make this time round, a power armoured Grey Knight as a Primaris scale. So as you can see, even with a standard Primaris Marine next to this Grey Knight, the Grey Knight looks quite tiny. So that's the plan. Now the thing I'm going to start with as a base, I have the Sword Brethren. These are the push fit ones that were released a while ago, but I also have some multi-part models, which I'm going to use the body of one of those as a basis for my Grey Knight conversion. So the reason why I'm doing that is the push fit ones have the holster molded onto the model, whereas the multi-part models don't have the holster attached, so you can get away with not having that in place. So my idea is, by using the multi-part Sword Brethren kit and a lot of spare parts I have from some old Grey Knight kits, I'm going to make a Grey Knight in power armour. It's a real-time video, so I'm not going to do any cuts or anything like that from this point on. I'm just going to be making the model, coming up with a few ideas, chatting while I do it, and the only time I will stop is if I need to let the dog out, phone rings, door knock, that kind of thing. So, let's get started. So I'm going to start with the main body of the Sword Brethren. The reason why I think these are going to work in my eyes for a Grey Knight is just the little details that are on there. So we have the kind of the monastic garb, loads of little details and things like that. So I think it'll work. What I'll probably find doing this, and it's often the case, I'll do this conversion and then quite suddenly there will be an announcement for a release of new Grey Knights, and it's about time really. The Grey Knights have had the same models for an awful long time and they are looking quite tired in my opinion now. They don't really scale well with the Primaris Marines. It is one of those problems I have personally now with the old Space Marine ranges, is how they don't seem right next to the Primaris Marines anymore. It's a real shame because I do love a lot of the models that are available, but as I thought many years ago when the Primaris Marines were released, this was the time that they were rescaling Space Marines and the old ones would slowly get phased out and eventually all would be Primaris size. Doesn't bother me, I do like the Primaris Marines, but I really do like the Grey Knights, and at the moment the Grey Knights don't look as good as I think they should. So, the one thing which I'm going to have to consider, there is a scabbard on the belt, and that's going to have to change to something else. I've got an idea what I can do for that, so I'm not too worried about that. Going to have to cut away, let's get this into focus a little bit for you. Going to have to cut away that little bit off the tabard, which would have been where the holster went, but we're not having a holster now. Let me just have a quick look to see what would go on that part. I don't actually have the instructions to these right now, so I am putting them together kind of blind, just kind of making assumptions about how they go together. So okay, so this scabbard here has a section of the plate that goes into that hole there, so I'm going to have to use that and work out how I'm going to edit it to fit that in place. So first things first, let me have a look at some of the details I've got on. Actually, that might work. Okay, so on this Grey Knight sprue, have a large book that I think could work quite nicely, attached to the chains, possibly, not sure. So this is the drawback of a real-time, hit the camera, drawback of a real-time conversion video is I do spend time having a think, having a play around. I don't want to use the scabbard, so I want to lose the scabbard. So, right, I'm going to trim. Have a quick look at some of the accessories that I've got. Let me zoom out again. So I've got a variety of different Grey Knight spare parts, and I want to make sure I just use the right ones. So I'm just looking at what things look like when they go up to, okay. Yeah, so this is currently just a one-off model. If I do like the way it turns out, I will make some more. But what I don't want to do is spend lots of money trying to make these, when really I just want to have a few Grey Knights, either allies or a small task force or something like that. I do have an idea later on down the line of, I have a spare one of the Space Marine Terminator Librarians, doing a slight conversion on one of these to become a Grey Knight Librarian. So that's something that will happen in the not too distant future. Right, I'm gonna trim this book off and see what it looks like. Now, the Grey Knights that I produce in these conversions might not look 100% canon, but they will do in my head canon. I have a way of looking at the hobby that, so let's cut the sword off that's kind of sticking through it. I have a way of looking at the hobby that Games Workshop provides some information and a setting, and from that I choose how much of that I want to use. Sometimes I use a lot of the information that they provide, sometimes I don't use much of it and I make up my own, because I kind of think, well, it's my hobby. Let's have a little look at what this looks like. Now I'm going to have a little look. The Terminator has, has a pouch on its back, which is just stuck onto it. Whereas what I want to do with this, I want this book to... Okay, that's gonna work. So it's gonna be like a... Is it a grimoire? I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. So I am gonna clip the scabbard off this. So just move a bit that purity seal out of the way, which has just snapped off. Doesn't matter that it snapped off. First, cut that off. Okay. So I am going to clip most of that off. Safety squint. And now let me just... Actually going to take the purity seal off as well. I can add some more to that later on if I need to cover it up. Might have gone a little bit too thin on that, but don't mind. Okay. So what I want to do is a little bit of glue on the inside surface just to pin that in place. And then I need a bit of glue around the knee, on the leg there, and just a little bit to tack it in place. I can always add some more glue later on. This thin glue is really good at tacking things in place and then adding more later on. So now I want to clip away the top of the scabbard. I need to do this quite carefully. I've got a prediction that I'm going to do this and the chain's going to break, so let's have a look. The chain did not break. Okay, so what I'm looking to do, I'm going to look to add that later on, but I will tidy those up at some point to actually make them work. So what I have been thinking with this is to actually use the Terminator arms for this conversion rather than the smaller power armoured arms, just because with the scaling up of Primaris Marines looks like it'll kind of work. So I just pulled one off one of those other models, and just at a glance I do think that's going to work. One thing I'm going to have to do is where the edge of the breastplate is there is another shield. They're going to have dual wielding shields because these are already stuck on, unless I put one on that isn't being stuck on. But let's have a look. I'm going to pull that one off as well. That arm's stuck on with a bit of blue tack, so let me just clean that off. I'm only going to do one conversion today, but if it works I may do a few more off camera, and then I'll show them off in the Hobby Roundup at the end of the month. So that one there is, I can't remember the name off the top of my, Judicas? I think it is. The leader of the squad. So I'm going to make a leader of the squad with this one. Okay, let's have... Right, I'm going to have a look at possible arms and things I could use. So I'll start getting bits together. Now, one arm that I did see that I would like to try and use, as I just quickly go through the sprues, there we go, is this one just here, which is a sword impaling the head of a plague bearer. So I'm going to clip this one off and see if I have a spare arm that will look like it's holding it. Okay, let's clean this up a little bit. So I don't know how long this conversion is going to take. I would say if you like these real-time videos, please drop a like and a comment. It's something I do enjoy doing, as it kind of shows you guys the actual time it takes to model something or paint something. So let me have a look through. I've got to look through all of these old sprues. Hopefully we'll find, I think that arm there will work. So my plan, if this does work, is to make up a squad or so of, oh, sorry, I've stopped talking while I'm concentrating. That works. Gonna need to find a base for this one. That's okay for now. If that's like that, that might work. Or, as there's an arm on there, let's see if this arm, there we go. It's quite painless. Okay, that works a bit better. The drawback is this sword isn't one of the Terminator swords. It is one of the power armor ones. It doesn't quite fit, but I want that Nurgle head on there. Let's have a little look what I've got in the kits. What have I got to cut up? Okay, so I've got the leftovers of a halberd, which I could get it in focus. Let's zoom in and get that in focus. Let's move the things out of the way so it focuses on this. There we go. So I could swap that over, then the hand would be the right size, which I think I'll do. Let's just clip that hand out. So I did years ago have a small Grey Knight task force that, as with many of my projects, I never finished. But now I've got all of the spare parts that I could use to finish the project. Where's that going to stand? Okay, that might work. I have to think about that shield in there though. Right, let's tidy up this hand. So I can use this safety squint for this piece. And what I might end up just using lots of quiet thinking, which doesn't help when I'm trying to make a video, as I want you guys to kind of get an idea of what I'm thinking. I need to get one of those shields to see how big it is. Okay, let's have... Oh, I know what, let's get a matching... Matching skull. Let's just get that one. So let's... I should have really set up another camera so I could have had like a parts cam or something. So you can see exactly what's happening with different parts. Okay, that works. That's not going to interfere. Helps from on camera. It's not going to interfere. Okay, so let's get, before I get this arm done, let's clip that off. Safety squint. And carefully do this. Now I end up with so many of these little projects that I do. I have an idea for a conversion and then I end up doing it and it either never goes anywhere or just sits on a shelf or I never finish it. So it's like, so the Red Hunter, I think if this works I might change the Red Hunter and convert them into a Grey Knight, so it saves me trying to get hold of another one. So I think if I glue the shield in place now, worst case scenario I cut it off later, but for now I don't mind. I have to find a base for this one. Now, let me grab a... I have a big box of bases and check it's the right size. It is the right size. So I know that the Sword Brethren come on 40mm bases, but as this is a Power Armour Grey Knight, that's going to go on, I think it's 32mm, so whichever matches the normal Space Marines. Does that look... Yeah, it does look the same size. So I just, for some reason, suddenly I thought, oh, this doesn't look the right size, but it is. So, I mean, the thing with this is it might not even fit on this base with the Nurgle. Although I might sculpt the Nurgle Playbearer head falling off the base. That might be quite a nice little extra detail to add. Right, so I'm going to need to put the hand on there. So let's hit the camera with my hand as I walk by with some glue. Jeez. Let's put a bit of glue on there carefully. And then put this hand the right way around on it. There we go. So this has set the hand in place. Let's just run a little bit of glue around the seam. Now I could use the Power Armour arms, but I think the old Grey Knight Terminator arms have a better scale with them with the Primaris Marines, as the shoulder pads of them are also the same size as the shoulder pads that go on the Sword Brethren anyway. Doesn't look too wrong. Let's turn that slightly. There we go. I mean, I could just get another sword and put it in. Why didn't I think of that? Another sword. Right, let me trim this one off at the base of the handle. How long is that? 20 plus minutes at the moment. Let's flip that round. Actually, I need to twist that hand slightly. This will, okay, this looks like it's going to work. It's one of those balancing games. Okay, what I'm going to need to do, put some glue on the arm so I can tack it in place, but then enough glue that it won't evaporate too quickly, and I can move it if needed. So first things first, let's put that in place. Like I said, I have seen quite a few videos online about, there we go, that's what I want, making scaled up Grey Knights. So I'm certainly not the first person to do this at all. But like I said, I haven't done this yet, and I kind of want to create some new Grey Knights for me to paint and have a play around with. Okay, that arm seems to be in the right place. Probably going to have to stick it to the base in a minute just to make it a little bit easier to put all of this together. Oh, okay. Looks like it's going to sit okay. So what I'm going to do, let's just run some glue via capillary action under these feet. So the one thing I have to say, at the moment I'm not 100% up to date with all of the Grey Knight lore since the new editions of 40k. So I don't know even if they have Primaris Marines in their numbers, but I do prefer the scale that the Primaris Marines do provide. Okay, that's, and as I have we go. A grey unclean one still in the works. Nurgle seems like a good option for this test model. And I know they don't all wear tabards and stuff like that, but it doesn't bother me. It's kind of, okay, that's kind of, it's looking good, I think. Do the top of the sword in a minute, keep that to one side. Let's get back to quickly looking at the book. Right, not looking at the book, what I need to do is look for what arms I have for Stormbolter. There is one which hopefully, because the Grey Knight arms, they aren't holding the Stormbolters. I don't think any Grey Knight models hold them. They all have them on their wrist mounts. But let's have a okay, so that's that one. There's that. I do have one spare, or I thought I did, Stormbolter. There we go. There it is. On these sprues. These sprues over the years have been raided for all sorts of parts and iconography. It's as a grim dark sprues, one thing still going for them is they do work really quite nicely. Okay. What's going to work for this? I have a few different hands I can use, so just put some glue on this here. Let's hold that in place. Let's get that back into a better position. That too high. Let's just hold that there for let the glue go off a little bit. It's a little gap, so let's run some glue down into there. That is going to sit on. Oh, might have to do a little bit of trimming. Bring that down a little bit lower. So it's going to get covered by the shoulder pad anyway. Okay, that should work. Let's just hold that in place for a little bit. Just take it backwards a bit. There we go. Oh, I haven't thought about the backpack. Think about the backpack in a minute. So if this does work, other models that I could use for the conversions would be the Sternguard Veteran Squad. It's quite a nice option for the tabarded Marines. Need to think about a helmet for this guy as well. I think I do want to have him with a helmet. Does that look weird because that's bigger than that? Can I get that off? Bit of surgery. It's going to leave an ugly mark, which it has done on that, but if I grab another one, yeah, I'll trim that off and I'll stick it to it, so that's alright, I'm not worried about that. Okay, glue's drying. That's okay. Oh, from a real-time video. Traffic noise if you can hear it, but also glue takes a while to dry. So let's run some glue down there. That arm's starting to come off a little bit. I hope this works and it isn't just a waste of a mini, but we shall see as I go. That might, okay. Can I clean that up? I reckon that's going to be, actually I could purity seal that. A few little purity seals, that'll hide it. Might not need that in the end. It's a bonus if I don't, as I can use it on another one. Right, let's get this storm bolter in place. Mustn't forget the book. Okay. Is that going to work? I think that's going to work. Let's just nudge that forward a little bit. that's going to work. So it might not be the best pose for a mini, but with the spare parts that I've got, it's gonna kind of be okay. Let's try and do a little bit of a hybrid push there, and hopefully, okay. Not ideal with the little bit of gaps, but that's okay. Okay. Okay, while that is just going off a little bit, let's have a look at some old backpacks. I think I'll go with, let's go with that one. I'm gonna go with one with, oh, do I go with that one? With a, oh, decisions. I mean, I say decisions, it's not really decisions, is it? It's, let's just go for a simple backpack. I would like the one with the little Inquisition icon on it, but with the way I'm putting things together at the moment, I don't want to knock it off. Okay. Well, that's going to go on quite nicely there. Okay, let's have a look at this book. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is clipping off a bit of those chains. While I'm still waiting for the glue to dry, let's prep this top of the sword. So that's there. Have to have a think about helmets in a minute, but I'm going to do that at the end. I need a hand. There is an open hand. Or do I want a pointing hand? I think I've got a pointing hand. So that was the thing with all of the old Grey Knight Terminators. They all had separate hands. So there is a pointing hand. Let's have a look what that looks like. I mean, to be honest, I have no preference in the matter right now. I'm going to leave the hand until the end. Okay, let's clip some of this for this book. That's going to go... Is that going to work? I need to clip this top one a little bit more. Is it on camera? Yes, it is on camera. I want that. Safety squint. Okay, that's going to work, I think. I don't know. We'll see. Don't know which way round I'm doing this, but let's have a... Put some glue on the armour just there. Whoa. There we go. Let's run some glue there. And some glue there. That doesn't quite line up. Let's do some in model editing. That's better. That's better. Okay, cool. Okay. Things are starting to dry as well. That's always a good sign. Okay, while I'm here, let's get the top part of the sword in place. So yeah, chances are I'll get this done. I'll really like it, and then I'll go, let's save up a little bit to make a few of them. And then suddenly, just as I bought them all, there'll be an announcement of new Grey Knights, and I'll be like, ah, damn it. Never mind, I'll make my own. And then there'll be the last, although that might be the benefit, because there'll be the last chance to buy. Okay. Let's clip that off, because it's a round peg, safety squint, and I've got a round hole. I might need, I've probably just done the wrong thing by taking that off, but I might need, if this doesn't glue in place, put a bit of green stuff in there. For now, just gonna hold that in place. Yeah, I'm gonna need some green stuff, I think. Oh no, not. Oh, probably shouldn't have cut that bit off. See if I can run that down. Right, the one thing that this is missing is the psychic hood style top to the armour, but I'm not too worried about that. Okay, it's getting somewhere. That doesn't look square or lined up. Let's hold that for a bit. Problem is, and I've seen the problem that I'm having, the shoulder pads, because they're the Terminator ones and they're larger, and they've got these rims going around the edge, they're kind of sitting a bit too proud, but that's okay. Right, oops, let's let's go with, yeah, I'll go with the clenching fist. I think that'll, well, if it don't like it, I can always cut it off and change it for a different hand. For now, okay, now the head. Got a few options. So, first option is an original Grey Knight head, which I have to say I don't think there's enough detail in them anymore. But that does work. Alternative, I could use one of the Terminator heads. But it does look like a Grey Knight Terminator head, and I want to use those later on if I... Oh, I hit the camera, sorry. I do want to use those later on if I'm going to make some Terminators. But then the Sword Brethren helmeted head, here you go, you can see it just there. That does... Let me see if we can get this in focus. Look very much like the Grey Knight head. And I kind of prefer it. So, I'm just going to go for it. Put some glue in there. And stick that in. And I've just knocked the back There we go, let's hold that in place. Okay. And there we have my Primaris scale Grey Knight. Okay, I'm going to leave some pictures of this at the very end of the video so it gives you a bit more detail. I hope you've enjoyed this real-time conversion. If you'd like to see more of this project, please drop a like and a comment, and I'll see what I can do to produce a few more Primaris scale Grey Knights. But for now, all I can say is thank you so much for tuning in. My name's John, and you've been watching War Games, Models and Other Hobbies.